So here is my 10-litre mini keg, and I have just finished filling it with beg your pardon, Chemsan, a very similar European version of the American Starsan. There is the product, and this is made with reverse osmosis water because I have a hard water here, and it is a no rinse sanitizer, so that foam is absolutely fine. I'll probably empty a little bit more of the liquid out the bottom if I was going to use this demijohn for brewing, but these are just storing my Chemsan. You can use it again and again, just keep testing the pH. You can find out what that needs to be in the comments later. And just while I'm on the subject, here is some Chemsan which I made with my home tap water. And you can see it's pretty cloudy. The pH is actually fine on it, it's very low, so it probably does sanitize, but I don't know enough about it to recommend it. So use distilled water or reverse osmosis water if you live in a hard water area. So here we are, set up, ready to purge the kegs. This one here on the left is full of Chemsan. We are going to pump CO2 from the SodaStream bottle in through the gas inlet, and that's going to force the Chemsan down, up the tube through the middle and out the black center piece, which is the beer outlet. We're going to be passing that Chemsan on to the second keg. That second keg at the moment is full of air, so there's 20% oxygen in there, or 18 to 20. So we're going to remove all of that from that keg while we do it at the same time, save us doing it twice, and then eventually we should start to see the Chemsan come out of this white fitting and down into my demijohn. So there you can hear the gas going into the keg. I started it before the video, but there is Chemsan now flowing across this pipe as I fill the keg up. Now I'm probably going to turn the SodaStream off intermittently so I don't over pressurize the keg unnecessarily. There we go, I've turned the SodaStream off, but there's obviously pressure in the keg now that's still pushing that Chemsan out and into the other keg. I should be able to feel some sort of I don't see a flow through there. Maybe if I put that into a liquid, you'd expect to see bubbles coming out of there. So there we go. That is now the air in the second keg coming out. So it is still bubbling a little bit, the pressure has been reduced, so let's, if I can do this while still holding the GoPro. I don't want to carbonate the liquid in there. So this is just purging the kegs of oxygen and also sanitizing, sterilizing them too. You can see there's the bubbles coming. It's going to be hard to know if every drop of liquid of the sanitizer is out of the keg, but I haven't weighed them, but I should be able to shake them around a bit and hear anything left in them. And it's a no rinse sanitizer, so I'm not too worried about any foam that's left in there. We just want to purge the kegs now. That is the sound of it running out of Chemsan in the first keg, bubbling CO2 into the second. So we can now investigate whether this keg here is empty of sanitizer. and full of CO2, and then we'll look at doing the second keg. Now this keg here on the left is now completely empty. There's no liquids left inside. I'm going to shake it. I could continue now to send carbon dioxide in through there to this one to purge the Chemsan out of here, now through the beer out, but I don't need this keg right away. I'm going to be kegging 10 litres of my beer today, and plus maybe 10 bottles of beer as well, not enough to fill up a second keg. So I'm going to leave that one soaking in the Chemsan, and that will be for my second beer, perhaps in a few days when that's finished fermenting. It's the same beer but a different yeast. And finally we're ready to go. So I've set it up. I've purged the last bit of Chemsan out through this cable, so it's sanitized. I've connected it and opened the tap here, and then purged the gas out of this. Now there might have been full of CO2 anyway because I was purging the keg with it. So if there was any oxygen in it, I'll just try to get rid of that last little bit. Also, when I plugged this one on, the CO2 in the keg was released, the pressure, and that went up through the cable, and then I just quickly pulled out my bubbly airlock and put the cable in, so it should all be purged of CO2 in there as well. So now I've plugged it in. It does look like it's starting to flow. I'm just going to release any excess pressure. Right, okay, so there's no pressure in the keg. It should now be gravity. So really we're watching for two things. One, this level of beer should be going down. I think it's lower than the crow's on at the moment, so perhaps it is working. And secondly, it should be forming a condensation layer on the keg as the 2 degree liquid, well, my inkbed now says 5 degrees, but it was down cold crush at 2 degrees, as that comes into the keg. So I'll keep you posted. So I put the keg on the floor to give it a bit more gravity, and I heard liquid going into the bottom. It doesn't matter if it's bubbling around in there because it's all CO2 in there. I did purge the last bit of Chemsan out this morning as well, all the residuals that had dribbled to the bottom, just to get rid of that, and I used that to clean the tube. So, and there it is, it's going down. Right, so what's going to happen when it's full is that we should see some beer coming out the gas outlet after 10 litres. So I had noticed a couple of lumps coming through, so I've pulled that out, emptied the tubes. I've had to re-purge them of oxygen and added my sanitized filter in there, and I can still see there is some gas in that. That might be CO2 that's coming out of the cold liquid as it warms up, so I'm hoping that's not oxidizing my beer. You can see quite clearly now that the keg is probably 2/3 or 3/4 full. So I'm going to move on to this keg next. I don't think I can stop the oxygen getting into this one. I can't purge it certainly, so I think I'll just take this apart and have the beer just going straight into the bottom.